Hello once again, welcome to the Bahamas and the PokerStars Caribbean Adventure 2019. This is day 4 of the 10K main event. 20 players remain. Today we play down to the final table, the final 6. I am James Hartigan, alongside me, Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies.
And Maria Ho. Penultimate day of the PCA. Tomorrow will be the final table. Make sure you're with us for our Cards Up coverage as we crown a champion here at Atlantis, Paradise Island. Maria, sadly the wrong kind of table for you. I know you wanted to make a deep run in this, or deeper than you did already. And also you've ended the tradition of Maria's winning the PCA, which goes all the way back to 2018.
I know, and I thought that when I made a deep run, I was like, okay, I can keep this going for the Marias, but sorry to disappoint.
Marias everywhere are mourning the loss of Maria Ho.
Well, let's have a look at who remains in the PCA main event. 20 players. Let's look at the top 10 stacks. Tommy Nguyen. Here is a guy who has burst onto the scene pretty much in the last year and had some huge results. Was it the monster stack he took down at the World Series, Joe?
I really should know that considering I was there, but if you're saying it, it's probably true.
And I think he's had some other big results along the way. He's coming into play with a 108 big blind stack. Jeffrey Hakeem, who told us last night that he's been playing the PCA since 2007, is second in chips coming into play. There are some familiar names in the top 10, players like Brian Altman, Matt Berkey, Chino, Rheem. Christoph Vogelsang and Pavel Wexler, who continues to be a feature of our coverage, having gone deep in the PSPC, making a deep run in the PCA main event. Let's look at the bottom end of the leaderboard, and we do have some short stacks, including Marc-Andre Ladouceur and Danny Tang, who was 13th in EPT Barcelona last year. Just 9 big blinds coming into play. We're about to kick off the 10-25 blind level with a 25K big blind ante. Now, of course, there was a redraw when they got to 24, so if you look at the feature table lineup, it's the same guys we had on the main stage yesterday. There was no redraw overnight, but we should point out, Joe, that when we get to 16, there will be another redraw, so we won't be seeing these guys for too long, probably.
Yeah, and that's wonderful at this stage of the tournament. There are only 20 players left, so we should be able to get a good mix of players at our featured table, and I love that. I love that we can give everybody more or less their own time to shine.
We pick up the action at the feature table with a raise from one and back with aces, Army Bearer with ace queen.
And I think it's a bit of a mixed strategy. Usually with ace-queen, it depends on where the original opener is raising from. But sometimes you flat, sometimes you 3-bet off of bear's stack size of 36 big blinds to start the hand. It's not a hand that I think he would feel great about getting it in if Wellenbach just decides to fast play and 4-bet here. I wouldn't really mind Wellenbach slow playing and just flatting this 3-bet. Because you have to think about how many hands bear is really going to be willing to get in 36 big blinds with pre. If you think that his 3-bet range has any bluffs in it, then you definitely can extract more value from your hand if you slow play, especially out of position. I think this is a good spot to do it.
Shove and a fold. Scott Wellenbach playing 56 bigs. Army Bearer drops below the 30 big blind mark.
$260.
Scott Wellenbach 3-betting from the small blind. Tommy Nguyen, the original raiser, has King 8 of hearts.
Decent 3-bet sizing from Wellenbach. I might even go a little bit bigger than that. potentially just over 4x. Not surprised to see Nguyen come along. He really doesn't mind playing these type of pots, especially in position with suited type hands.
Top pair for Wellenbach.
Not much for Nguyen.
Definitely a down bet, I think, is in order here.
Excuse me, what?
A down bet?
A down bet. Aren't you putting all the bets down on the table? I genuinely don't know what down bet is.
Well, he 3-bet pre to 260,000, and now I'm saying that his bet size should be less than that.
Well, it's not. It's bigger. 270K.
But barely bigger. It's just, it's up, down.
It's such a dry board that I think something in the neighborhood of between a third pot or even a quarter pot makes more sense. You keep in all of the potential 10-9 suited, 9-8 suited that peeled pre, Jack-9 suited even, and then the 10s type hands, even 8s sometimes, especially a guy like Nguyen. He doesn't like to fold. It's going to make you fire multiple bullets if he has a piece. So if you know that you can get value from your opponent's weaker holdings, then sizing down on the flop keeps them in, keeps some potential floats in, like the king-queen with backdoor flush draws.
So Wellenbach checks this inconsequential looking turn card. And Nguyen is now set to take over the betting.
Wellenbach has less than pot back. So if he puts in a call right here, he's going to have 540,000 left going into the river. I certainly hope that he's not considering folding this hand.
300,000. 1.7 million in the middle, and Wellenbach now has 540K behind. 10 of hearts. Nguyen was already drawing dead on the turn. And Scott Wellenbach checks again. Is Nguyen going to attempt to bluff the river? And is he going to bluff big? Could he potentially shove on Wellenbach? Yes, he does!
It looks so strong because, you know, it's effectively 540K to call.
It's your tournament life to call.
Yes, but I think as played, especially given the history that Wellenbach and Nguyen has had, and seeing the way that Nguyen has played at the feature table, you can't really fold ace-jack in this spot.
Is this a credible line for a bluff?
No, because, I mean, it is a credible line for a bluff because of the fact that Wellenbach has 540K left and the pot is just so big that it never really looks like a bluff. But I mean, I think that Wellenbach would think if Nguyen had something like ace-king pre-flop that might have just gone all in pre, I think it's okay to maybe exclude that from his range. Yes, he could potentially have a set of 9s, maybe even a set of deuces. He could have ace-deuce suited.
Wellenbach said that if the poker god shined on him, he would not completely blow it. So I would love...
Could be a major mistake, but I call.
Yeah! He does call. Good call.
I love it.
And Scott Wellenbach is going to double up through Tommy Nguyen.
Nothing against Tommy Nguyen, but man, oh man, do I love seeing amateurs make huge calls and be right. That is fantastic.
He has just taken the chip lead. Vora shoving small to big with king 5. Ooh, Tommy Nguyen's got him dominated.
3.
And that's a call.
I don't know what
It's not 385? It's 385. 380, I think.
Not looking good for Rajesh Vora.
385 he folds. All right, let's go. 5 ball.
Vora dominated and at risk.
More dominated now.
7.
7 for a start.
7. Turn card is an ace. That has Vora drawing dead.
Thank you. Nice playing, Chino.
He exits in 20th place, cashing for $60,840. First elimination of the day, and we are down to 19. Wellenbach raising with ace-queen suited. Daniel Strelitz in the big blind, 10-9. He calls. Wellenbach with the gut shot and the flush draw. Strelitz with second pair. There's a c-bet from the Dean.
Strelitz probably going to look up one street, see what happens on the turn.
There's the nut flush for Wellenbach. $150,000 into $325,000.
I think it's a fairly easy give up for Strelitz because when he check calls the flop, he could easily have a lot of the flush draws as well. And for Wellenbach to still barrel this particular turn card, I think it should signify a lot of strength coming from him.
Ooh, Strelitz.
Jeez.
And now you got yourself in a whole lot of trouble.
He's just improved to trips, and he's certainly going to pay off this bet. 250K.
250?
And that will see Scott Wellenbach move up above 3 million. He's got 3.4 million.
Wait, what?
Close to 140 big blinds.
No, I can barrel him.
Oh.
All in.
Army Bearer all in at the feature table.
580.
Daniel Strelitz opened with ace-jack. Scott Wellenbach flatted in the small blind with 7s, and Army Bearer has now shoved from the big with 5s.
Oh man, is he gonna bust both of these guys? What a sick turn of events this would be.
You can't fault Bearer for taking this squeeze spot. Usually the cutoff, especially someone like Strelitz, is very capable of opening quite wide. And Wellenbach doesn't have a lot of traps from the small blind. People just don't trap enough from that spot in particular, and he will actually fold to the fact that
Oh, I play
Strelitz
so
did
bad.
call
I
the
play
all-in.
so bad.
I don't think that was bad.
I think
That's
it's,
the two.
it's fine.
I play bad.
This is the ultimate playing results right here, Tricky.
So this is a coin flip. Strelitz with the overcards, Bearer with the pocket pair, and he needs those 5s to hold. He is the at-risk player.
Here come a sign from Buddha when it comes 5-5 on the flop.
Instead, it's a queen 8 deuce flop. 5s are holding. Strelitz has 6 outs. Looking for an ace or a jack to eliminate Army Bearer.
Give the viewers what they want. 10 of spades. Bang.
Nope, it's the 8 of diamonds. But that does give Strelitz more outs. An ace, queen, jack on the river. Those are the cards Army Bearer has to fade to survive. It's a 7, and that would have seen Scott Wellenbach river a full house.
I really don't think he should be so hard on himself, because after Strelitz calls, you know, you're putting in 20 big blinds pre with 7s and then playing out of position post-flop. Your only other option is to re-shove after Strelitz calls, but Strelitz can have traps in that spot, just calling with aces, just calling with kings. I really feel like he's being very, very tough on himself.
And time for us to return to the outer tables. Another all-in. It's Bob Bunara who's all-in and at risk with ace-6. Simon Debman with kings. And Jack 4-3 flop.
5.
A 9 on the turn. Bunara needs an ace on the river. No Greenstein. And Bob Bunara is eliminated in 19th place. Receives $60,840. So back at the feature table, Army Bearer is raised to 60,000 with ace-6. Tommy Nguyen in the big blind with jack deuce of hearts. It's an ace, king, queen flop with 2 hearts. Bearer continues. Nguyen's got a gut shot and a flush draw, and he's raising with it.
And I think the problem with this check raise is you're not really repping much. You very likely don't have the 2 pairs. You don't have ace-king, you don't have king-queen, you don't have ace-queen because you didn't 3-bet the button open from the big blind. You do sometimes have jack-10, no hearts, a type of hand that you might want to charge potential flush draws, and if Bearer were to have those 2 pairs, then he's obviously going to come along for another card, but having a jack of hearts in his hand for Tommy Nguyen is pretty key there.
Well, Tommy's managed to get some back after losing that huge part against Scott Wellenbach when his bluff got called, playing 75 big blinds. Sits in 3rd place on the leaderboard at the featured table. Jeffrey Hakeem, 2nd in chips. Scott Wellenbach is the chip leader, not just at this table, but in the PCA main event overall with more than 130 big blinds. We need to get to the outer tables. Chino Rheem has just shoved the river for 400K. Action is on Danny Tang. And Danny Tang has got Chino Rheem covered. So Rheem is the at-risk player here.
I don't understand what you're asking. Like, because, you know, people have been asking you to show your hands. Are you going to show this one?
I don't know yet. Genuine answer, I don't know yet.
burning through those time bank cards today.
Yeah.
Day of big decisions.
One pair.
Who will win the massage wars?
10 seconds left.
Do I have any more?
No.
Really? You didn't tell me that?
5.
Oh, man.
Is that really her job?
Danny Tang folds.
If I flick the cards to him, does we have to show the whole table? Do you guys agree not to see it? And I just tell you on my word? Do you agree? I don't want to show it, but I want to be nice to him. If I'm saying I want to be nice to him, obviously I have it. He can see.
Are you guys okay?
Here, see, I don't give a fuck. I have it. Obviously I have it. I never not have it there. I have it.
9-10 of spades for the
That's all I wanna
flush.
see.
That's so Chino.
Christoph Vogelsang is all in against Enrico Kamoski. All in with King 8 against Ace 10. Ace high holding. Don't get greedy.
Oh.
Don't call for cards when you're ahead. We're going to lose Christoph Vogelsang unless there is a King 8 or 7 on the river. It's an 8!
Wow.
And Christoph Vogelsang rivers Enrico Kamoski and doubles up. Danny Tang all in. Sixes against aces.
The new Zen Chino.
And Chino Rheem's aces hold.
That's so Chino.
Okay, we're on a break, my dear. I'll be back.
Showed him that time too.
Altman has 10-9 for top pair. Kamoski ace 5. He's not drawing dead. But that queen on the river doesn't help him, and Enrico Kamoski will bust in 17th place. And we are down to 16. It is time for the redraw. So they have paused the clock, just 10 minutes into the level, and now the remaining 16 players will draw for seats around the final 2 tables. So we'll have a new lineup on the main stage. The other 8 players will be at this table here.
Some strong players at the table too.
Some very strong players left in the final 16 of the PCA 2019 main event. So let's look at the new lineup. Our new 8-handed featured table is headlined by the chip leader, Scott Wellenbach, with his 3.4 million stack. We've also got Jeffrey Hakeem and Brian Altman. Those guys have got more than 2 million each. Pavel Vexler's back under the cameras, as are Matt Berkey and Army Bearer. We also have Vicent Bosca and Marc-Andre Ladouceur, who is a shorty right now with just 11 big blinds.
Decent beer.
Should be in Montreal. Should be great beer.
Jeffrey Hakeem with ace queen on the
quite a
button.
bit of people from Nova Scotia coming through every event.
Yeah.
You playing in those games out there?
Yeah, Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, local games.
Yeah.
No, a lot of the guys go up
Right.
to Montreal.
And the Oyster King from there, from Nova Scotia.
Oyster King?
Yeah.
What is that? Oyster King.
Armand. No?
I
think he's from New Brunswick then.
Oyster King.
Older gentleman, probably closer to 70, 75. No? You would know, so you don't
See, I hate hand nicknames, but I love the nicknames that people get in poker. The Oyster Man. Oh yeah, that's the Oyster Man, you know.
Action checked to Jeffrey. Ace high. Best hand. He continues for 60,000 into a pot of 185,000.
Bear is not going to let this one go very easily. It's a very small flop bet. Thinks he could do something on future streets. Queen high might be good a small percentage of the time, but that's more of a nice little extra circumstance than it is why he's calling. He's hoping that a queen or a jack could be good, or that he could take the pot away from Hakim on the river if it gets checked through on the turn. So there's multiple ways that plays into this hand. That's an excellent river to try to do it on. Very scary board for an ace-high hand to call on. You would pretty much have to just assume that your opponent called the flop with the hand that Bear has here.
So you pretty much just play 20 hands?
I've been playing a little more this year, yeah. And I'll be playing some more this year.
I'm really surprised that he only bets 40,000. It's very tough to think that. All right then, he folded. Great bet there, 40,000, perfect sizing.
Zhao Samao all in with ace deuce against Christoph Vogelsang's pocket tens. 6-7-4 on the flop. 10 on the turn. And the river card is another 10. This is hashtag death by quads for Zhao Samao, eliminated by Christoph Vogelsang, out in 16th place.
Too bad to see him go. Would have loved to see more of him. I think he had a flush draw on the flop too, that he flopped it, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, okay. So everybody was keeping so quiet when the 10 on the turn rolled off.
That means the action is on chip leader Scott Wellenbach. And he's going to open with ace-king suited. Round to the blinds. Matt Berkey in the small has pocket fours. That's a call. Marc-Andre Ladouceur folds the big blind, heads up to the flop. That flop is queen 5-3. Fours still ahead.
Yeah, it's a pretty good flop for fours too, because even if you're not good against high card hands, if somebody has a queen, there's some turn and rivers that can make it a lot more interesting for you, or that you could make some bluffs on, obviously blocking some potential straights.
Wellenbach has continued for 115,000.
It's a pretty big bet. When you have fours here, you really hope to see somebody just bet like 70,000.
Berkey calls. 7 on the turn.
And this is exactly one of those scenarios. So even if you are not sure if your pair is good, a lot of turns will give you a chance at an emergency straight draw. Oh. Great read from Wellenbach, keeps firing.
225K.
This is a tough spot, because most of the time when you hit your 4 or 6 in this scenario to give you a winner, it's going to be a four cards straight out there already. So that usually makes people check behind a lot. Oh, great call, Berkey here.
Eight of spades on the river. Really interested to see if Wellenbach can empty the clip here.
Yeah, love that expression too. Oh, that looked like a very quick check back. Yeah.
Fours are good.
That's a big pot.
And it sees Scott Wellenbach surrender the chip lead. Well, Jeffrey Hakeem has picked up queens on the button.
Oh, wow.
Ace queen with Vicente Bosca.
Yeah, and that's off 29 big blinds. Oh man, and these are the positions where you're absolutely, yeah. That is such an insane setup for him. So happy to have ace queen in that situation against the button too. The chip leader on the button is going to open so many hands.
So Bosca at risk and behind.
Oh wow, that is bad.
Always an ace on the desk.
I'll gladly sing a song for this one because this is pretty sick.
Well, there are opportunities. And right now, Hakeem would take it. Ten for the chop, queen for the win. It's a 4, and that means Bosca doubles up through Hakeem, and they are now going to have the same stack, 1.79 million, 60 bigs.
Well, that was a big hit to Hakeem's stack.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going to say he's one of the shortest stacks at the table now, which is technically true. But
however,
yeah, it's 59 big blinds.
So Altman has opened with Jack-9 of diamonds. Hakeem calls in the cutoff with Queen-Jack of spades. Bearer has spades, ace-6.
Well, definitely some possibilities for him here. What would David Peters do? These two are going to duke it out. Altman dominated here, but he does have the pre-flop initiative. Ooh, and that is an action board. Both players with a straight draw, but Hakeem has a flush draw to boot. And very likely Altman is going to continue here. He checks. Good stuff. Going to be curious to see what he wants to do with this Jack-9. It's very tough to play Jack high out of position without the initiative. Because it gets a little awkward, right? Because if Hakeem bets now, do you raise? That might put you in some trouble on the turn. But do you flat call and then the turn gets checked back? And then all of a sudden you only have Jack high. So I think he might get in some trouble on future streets taking this line. We'll see.
Well, Hakeem has bet 90K.
Yeah.
Less than half pot. Altman calls. The turn card is the King of Hearts.
Well, the nice thing about this is that you can represent some king, queen, ace, king combinations. So I think something that's very underrated is check calling flops like this, and then specifically when you have strong holdings or a bad high carded straight draw like this, is to lead at it. I think that's something that people often don't consider because, you know, there's a check to the razor, a check to the better dynamic. And this kind of just showcases, this really does showcase the problem with a hand like this. You know, Jack-9 could have been the one betting this. It just feels like you're getting pushed around, and it's very hard to do anything about this. I mean, you know, what are you going to do now? Check raise a turn? You can't really check call, especially against his bet sizing.
Altman lets it go. So Jeffrey Hakeem gets a bit back, moves back over the 2 million mark. And we are going to the other table where Daniel Strelitz has moved all in for 1.2 million. Action on Tommy Nguyen. And Nguyen calls. Strelitz is the at-risk player with ace-king. And he is racing against Tommy Nguyen's jacks. Strelitz needs to hit to survive. And it's a king-high flop. Strelitz takes the lead. Improves to trips on the turn. Just has to fade a jack on the river. Which he does. So Strelitz doubles up through Nguyen. Vexler opened under the gun, got 3-bet by Berkey.
I think these are incredible hands to use against under the gun opens, because King 10 doesn't necessarily play well if you flat call, but it blocks so many strong hands. And if they do call your re-raise, you actually have a pretty nice hand to play flop with. Plus, you have initiative. I can read your DMs.
So he's taking a picture of Pavel Vexler for posterity.
$375.
Oh man, this guy. Look at this guy. This guy is a great player.
Eat my 4-bet.
I mean, we've seen Vexler do. We've seen him flat call with aces from the small blind to when Maria Ho was short stacked. He played that hand very smart, got a massive payout out of that. We've seen him make check raises. We've seen him play good hands smart, some bad hands very fast. Oh, and we see a call. I like this. I like where this is heading, James.
Wow, we've got a 4-bet pot. Queen 10 against King 10. Under the gun versus under the gun +1. And Matt Berkey had the best hand pre and is now a 96% favorite, having flop top pair.
And this is something Vexler is going to be extremely pleased with. If you miss a flop with Queen 10, if you're the 4-better before the flop, then at least if it's king high, you can represent all the ace kings and the pocket kings. It's very unlikely that Berkey has a hand like ace king here. So that's a massive advantage for Vexler, and he knows it. So there might be fireworks coming from him.
We've already got 825,000 in the middle, and Vexler announces his bet. 250,000.
And just to be clear, just to showcase how strong this board is for what Vexler is doing. When Berkey sees this, he thinks, all right, I hit a king, but please do not bet all 3 streets.
Nine of spades on the turn. So Vexler, the effective stack here, and does not have pot behind.
He does turn a straight draw.
He elects to check. Berkey checks behind. River card is a check, and that's the straight for Vexler.
What? Oh man, you couldn't write this any more crazy if you tried. Inside he's going, ha ha ha.
Oh, we saw some sick hands on the feature table yesterday. The sickness is back for day 4.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
900K.
900,000. Most of his stack. Most of Berkey's remaining chips.
I would not want to be Matt Berkey right now. Wow.
What a hand.
Well, we've seen Berkey fold a monster earlier in the tournament.
Yeah, if he can fold a full house, he can fold a pair. Two time bank cards played so far. That's a call.
He makes the call.
Block a straight.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Such a sick spot for Matt Berkey, who's left with fewer than 10 big blinds. Pavel Vexler up to 3.4 million. Then we are going to the other table. Big pot here. It's Eibinger versus Chino Rheem. Matthias Eibinger has bet 300,000 on the river. The board is 77369 with 3 hearts. Chino Rheem moves all in. Eibinger has him covered. All in for 1,485,000.
Wow.
Nearly a 50 big blind shove on the river, Lax.
Yeah.
Big decision for Matthias Eibinger. He's playing time bank cards to extend the clock, and will be deducted afterwards.
He has the face of a man with a flush on a paired board.
This could be the biggest pot of the PCA main event so far. But he's counted out the call.
I'd be so afraid that my time bank cards would run out.
One more time. Yeah.
Right, he's on his last time bank card. This is his last 30 seconds. This time, if the clock goes to 0, his hand will be dead.
Oh my god, he has 20 seconds. I love the fact that it's like a clock that's just ticking, literally. Yeah, I think he has a flush.
5 seconds.
Oh my god, dude.
He calls! Chino Rheem table 6s, that's a full house. It wasn't a flush, Lex. He had Queen 7 for trips.
Oh, wow.
Eibinger calls, and Chino Rheem is going to double up to become the new chip leader. Back of the feature table. Just 1 minute left on the clock, by the way. Looks like we're going on break after this.
Is that it?
Berkey moves all in from the small blind. Marc-Andre Ladouceur calls in the big blind with the best hand. Berkey at risk, but he has live cards.
Yeah, Jack-9 does pretty well. He had to already pay that very, very expensive double big blind, of course, with the antes in there.
Genre 180.
Let's run the board that will decide Matt Berkey's fate. Ace 5-5, king high ahead. Berkey looking for a jack or a 9. Close, it's an 8. And there are opportunities. The river is a 9. Matt Berkey wins the pot outright, doubling up to a 12 big blind stack. Marc-Andre Ladouceur with 16 bigs.
You live to fight again.
Yep.
We still have 15 players who'll come back and continue to play down to the final 6 on the penultimate day of the PokerStars Caribbean Adventure 2019 main event. Pavel Vexler, 3.3 million. And at the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Marc-Andre Ladouceur with 12 bigs, Matt Berkey with 9 bigs. Chino Rheem is at the outer table and has the chip lead right now with 4 million. So blinds up when we come back. More action from the PCA